Today I don't really feel like doing the usual, here's what might be coming next kind of video. I mean, yeah, we all love speculating about new classes or trains or bosses, but right now I really want to switch it up. I want to focus on something that honestly feels more important. The stuff that Dead Rails needs to stay fun, fresh, and alive. I'm talking about actual quality of life changes. Not just fun ideas for the future, but real, grounded improvements and additions that could genuinely boost the gameplay experience. And since the devs themselves like to call these kinds of things big QOL updates, I'm borrowing that term too, because that's exactly what this is about. And you might be wondering, okay, but why this video? Why now? Here's my honest answer. I've been playing Dead Rails since the end of April. It's been about 2 to 3 months. And yeah, I know some of you watching have been here longer, but I'm not here to flex hours or compare experience. I just want to make it clear that in those months, I've played enough to see where things start to repeat. I've figured out where to loot, how to cheese encounters, and how to finish a run faster than I should. And with all that, as much as I love the game, I gotta admit, it's starting to feel a little stale. Especially after Rico Miller's recent announcement in the official Discord. If you missed it, he said Dead Rails won't be sticking to its usual 2-week update schedule anymore. Updates are still coming, but not on a fixed timer. Just whenever they're ready. And yeah, that's great for quality. I totally get it. But it also means there might be big gaps between content drops, and that could hit the game's player activity pretty hard. I even mentioned this in my last video, that without regular updates, the game might struggle to keep people engaged. Like, let's be real. If it takes 3 or 4 weeks for something new to drop, and what drops is mid, that could really kill the hype. So with that in mind, today's video is kind of my way of stepping in. I want to help the devs out, not by complaining or pointing fingers, but by offering ideas. Real ones, community-backed ones. Stuff that I think, if added, would totally change the feel of the game for the better. And before we dive in, I just want to say, thank you all so much for 10,000 subscribers. That's a big milestone. And I'm honestly super grateful. I'll keep doing my best to bring you creative content, not just about Dead Rails, but maybe even new games too. So if you have suggestions for what to cover next, drop them in the comments. And yeah, next stop, 20K. Alright, let's talk ideas. First up, style reworks. Let's start with something you probably saw in the thumbnail, a rework for the President class. This is a really simple tweak that gives it more utility and flavor without turning it into something completely different. President Rework. Alright, so here's how I'd tweak the President class to make it a bit more interesting and worth using again. Cost? Bumped up from 75 to 100 bonds, just to reflect the added utility. Starting gear, you'd start with 1 gold bar and 1 shovel. Nothing game-breaking, but it gives you a nice early boost. Pros. You get a friendly soldier who follows you around, and on top of that, all friendly soldiers now deal 1.5 times more damage. So if you're rolling with teammates, this actually adds value to the entire squad. Cons. You can't sprint, and outlaws will detect you from twice the normal distance, which makes things riskier if you're not paying attention. It's not a huge rework, but it's just enough to make the class feel fresh and actually worth picking again. The idea here is to take an underused class and give it a reason to exist again, without breaking the game. Next up is a suggestion I absolutely loved, and it comes from the Suggestions tab in the Dead Rails Discord. Credit goes to Elysium for this one. Let's talk about new biomes and entities. Right now, Dead Rails can feel pretty flat. You ride, you loot, you fight. The world is big, sure, but it doesn't always feel alive. So what if we added more variety in the map itself? Here's what that could look like. High Valley. This is a 2 to 6 kilometer stretch with fewer mobs and fewer structures overall, giving it a more open and isolated vibe. It introduces vultures which start circling and attacking you when your health drops below 30, and adds buffaloes roaming the land. Pasture lands. Think of this as a peaceful, vibrant biome full of life. It's covered with greenery, trees, hills, and it's home to cows, pigs, donkeys, sheep, and chickens. It spans anywhere from 5 to 20 kilometers, making it one of the largest and most diverse biomes. Big mine. Alright, this isn't technically a biome, but it needs to be in the game. It's a huge mining area packed with ore, 2.5 times more than usual. Inside, you'll find bats that get in your way, zombies equipped with pickaxes and dynamite, and stalactites hanging from the ceiling that can drop and instantly kill you if you're not careful. Oasis. Found exclusively in desert areas, the oasis adds a little life to the sand. You'll come across frogs, lizards, mosquitoes, and palm trees. And finding one also gives you progress toward a side challenge. Desert Rework. The desert really needs more variety, and this rework brings that. It adds terrain elevation like hills and cliffs, along with new mobs like snakes, coyotes, armadillos, rats, scorpions, hawks. The whole wild desert experience. Biomes like this would make every run feel different, and help Dead Rails feel more like an actual open-world survival game instead of a long track with enemies. Let's talk buildings now. Specifically, a new building, Trapper Store. This would take over one of the unused buildings in fortified towns and serve as a place where you could buy things like crossbows, arrows, saddles, and bear traps, and also sell animal corpses and saddles for extra money. And yeah, finally, something to do with all those horses that die during runs. This store could also let you sell rare loot like crocodile leather or snake skins, which would come from some of the new biomes we just mentioned. Speaking of that, let's go deeper into the wild side with a forest game mode. Picture a region filled with trees where animals are way more common, but resources like towns and ore are super rare. You'd need to use an axe to clear fallen trees from the tracks, and that wood becomes fuel for your train. You'll be constantly making choices. Explore deeper and risk danger, or play it safe and leave early. Oh, and here's a neat mechanic. Multiple railroad paths. Once you leave the spawn area, instead of being stuck on one track, you could choose different routes. One might take you through a rich area with lots of loot, but tough enemies. Another might be safer, but with fewer resources. It adds strategy and replayability to each run. Let's talk train concepts. And we've got 3. Stealth Train. This one's a fully enclosed train with just a front window, and while you're inside, you're completely hidden. Enemies can't detect you at all. Electric Train. It's slower than the rest, but the upside? You never have to worry about fuel, it just keeps running. House Train. Think cozy cabin on wheels. It's got a 2-story caboose, bunk beds, decorations, the works. If everyone on board goes to sleep at night, it instantly skips to daytime. Only downside is enemies can see you from way farther away while you're riding it. And finally, a big event concept, the Eclipse event. This one would happen randomly in most game modes, except Scorching Earth. Here's how it works. All mobs, zombies, vamps, werewolves spawn with 50% less HP and damage, but move 20% faster. All players get 30% blindness. Vampires take Eclipse damage, and mobs give extra money when sold. $35 for werewolves, $25 for vampires, $10 for zombies. And to go along with that, a full Eclipse mode. Only one class is allowed here, Eclipse Chaser. Eclipse is guaranteed everyday new items. Eclipse glasses, a $35 helmet that blocks blindness, and Eclipse tears, a $50 buff that gives immunity to Eclipse effects and boosts HP, damage, and speed by 50%. Class, Eclipse Chaser. This class gains plus 30% HP and plus 50% damage during eclipses, moves 20% slower while the eclipse is active, starts with 2 Eclipse tears and Eclipse glasses, and costs 75 bonds. Let me know in the comments what you think. Which one would you want to see first? Or better yet, what would you add? Thanks again for 10,000 subs. I seriously appreciate all the support. And hey, if you're new here, maybe stick around. Next up, 20K. See you in the next one.